Well, hello again, everyone. Filet mignon coming to you from Medium Rare Poetry, and have I got a treat for you today? Because I have this continuing croaky throat, which is dysphonia, where I almost sound like RFK Jr. at times. My beautiful wife, Philly Mignon, has volunteered to do the narration on today's poem. So, really looking forward to that. She did a great job, and she did it in half the time that I take. Speaking of today's poem, this one celebrates the felon's phony birthday parade and the aftermath of that, which is awfully sad for him. So today I present to you, or Philly Mignon presents to you, It's My Birthday, and I'll cry if I want to.
It's my birthday and I'll cry if I want to, by Filet Mignon, narrated by Philly Mignon. When you're full of expectations reaching far beyond your height, the outcome may just disappoint when reality does bite. And so it was for Donald, who had dreamed of being Kim. The Rocket Man held massive shows to honour only him. Parades of mighty rockets and a million cheering souls looked wonderful on TV. Just ignore the huge bankroll. And Putin held the same affairs to show who was in charge. Xi Jinping's militia ploughed through cities like a barge. So Donald schemed to have the same and show the world who's boss. He didn't care his country was now running at a loss. His birthday coincided with the semi-quincentennial of US Army forces, and he dreamed he was perennial. Tanks and guns and choppers were all polished to a shine, to rumble through the DC streets, crush roads to turpentine. 1,000 miles of barricades erected over weeks, pumpkin pie protection to safeguard the orange cheeks. The day was drawing closer and the forecast was for rain. A shame he'd sacked the experts, so it was a guessing game. Summer can be brutal in the nation's seat of power. Normal folks with sense preferred to rest and take a shower. They'd fortified the big duck pond, so swimming was constrained. Spectators saw no value, even if the clouds brought rain. The barricades were set so high you'd barely see a snippet. Safer home with TV and a beer to pop and sip it. Meanwhile, round the country, massive rallies had been planned to show the dumb dictator that no kings would take command. The populace was rising up against the power grab of billionaires, perceiving that all common folk were scabs. Even in the red states where Don loyalty was rooted, awoke unto the tragic fact their nest eggs had been looted. Project 25 had brought the nation to its knees. The time had come to disembowel the White House and its fleas. The rump had now been seated to enjoy his birthday show, his plexiglass aquarium a fart-filled weird tableau. Hog's breath sat beside him, and his face revealed distaste. Much gurgling from the urine bag strapped round the felon's waist. Melania was stoic. Had she overdone the Botox? Disgusted that her husband stocked a lethal dose of cowpox. Eric was the only one to show some animation. He'd never had toy soldiers in his boyhood fun starvation. At last the thing was underway. The band played snappy tunes, desiring stimulation of the sullen, grim baboon. A cavalcade of history saw the men clad in regalia. Of fancy pants and tunics they resembled strange azaleas. Dozing off amid the march, poor bloke had lost his pep. The troops were lacking passion, they could barely keep in step. The stands were mostly empty, lonesome chirping of the crickets and squeaking of the tank tracks must have had a case of rickets. Vietnam War veterans saw the Donald give salute. Unhindered by his bone spurs stood the cowardly galoot. And as he cast his eyes around, no MAGA hats were seen. The crowd was mostly tourists and they couldn't give a bean. Participation numbers were soon published overnight. The count was in the hundreds, Don deserted in his plight. From vacant rows of portaloos a mournful sob was heard. Tears were flowing freely from a sad, deflated turd. Putin sent a telegram. "Is that the best you've got? A ragtag washed-out army for a trainee dull despot?" Kim Jong-un then phoned him with a birthday wish to say, "I've sent a card addressed to you. The missile's on its way." Xi Jinping sent Donald 2 small sachets of rare earth to use as tear-proof makeup that should help for what it's worth. This was a tragic birthday. No one loved him anymore. He'd never learned his lessons when self-hatred is your core. The next day marked 100 years since horse-drawn fire trucks. 100,000 folks turned up to smell the horses' muck. The No King rallies coalesced, some 8+ million souls. The biggest crowd in history merged, according to the polls. A dismal Trump with nose pressed up against a window pane watched listlessly as tow trucks tried to operate a crane. It seemed a tank had broken down, its wheels had fallen off. Just like his tear-stained birthday, all his pigs had left the trough. The writing now was on the wall. He was a laughing stock. The man who had been gingerbread now faced a ticking clock. His minions had deserted him, appalled at what would come, embarrassed by the wanton waste, and labelled Trump-pon scum. 70 years and 19 saw a rampage of deceit. He never was responsible, no blame laid at his feet. Until this very moment when his army turned out fake, the insults kept on flowing and there was no birthday cake.
Well, didn't Philly do a fabulous job? Do you know she'd only read the poem once before she recorded it, and I think she did such a wonderful job. I'm so proud of her. And do you think she should do them all from here on in? Probably a good idea. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, such a shame about Donald's birthday, and it was true. The next day in Washington, D.C., they had a celebration of 100 years since horse-drawn fire trucks went out of service, and a ton of people showed up for that one. And all around the country, of course, the No King parades, protests were so well attended. There was 8+ million people demonstrating against Donald. And of course, the next day, also the Sunday, was Father's Day in America, and not one peep out of the White House about how he celebrated that. Don't know whether the family even bothered to send him a card. Anyway, hope you like the poem. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.